It's 2026 and all of us want to achieve something. However, a lot of us fail. That's not entirely because we don't put in enough effort or because we're just not capable of the things we want to do. It's more because we don't actually know how to set a goal, how to plan for it, what to do to actually achieve it. So hopefully in the next few minutes I can help you set a goal that is less likely to fail. Of course, everything I say can be used for any goal, but we're going to focus on fitness goals because this is a coaching channel at the end of the day. So kind of the first problem with goal setting is the fact that it's very scary. And that's because we want to achieve something that we haven't before. So we kind of don't know if we are actually capable of doing it, which means we can fail. None of us like to fail. So for a moment, before we even start setting any goals, we need to just close our eyes. We need to just start thinking that we actually did achieve our goals. We did actually succeed. In about 6 months or a year, where exactly are we? So let's start with that for a moment. Just focus and think, in 6 months, I am. Or in 6 months, I have. Again, fitness channel, let's focus on the fitness things. One of the biggest problems in today's day and age is obesity. And people are finding it so much harder to lose weight. Let's just do the most common goal that a lot of people have. I want to lose weight. The problem with the way we phrased it is that this is kind of it. It's just a statement. There is nothing you can do with this statement. So we kind of have nothing to work from. But here's what we can do to break it down and figure out exactly what we're going to do so we succeed. Anytime you make a goal, it needs to be smart. You don't want it to waste your time. Remember that, which means smart. But what do they even stand for? Specific. I want to lose weight. There's no specificity. It's just a statement. What is weight? Do you want to lose your clothes? Do you want to lose your shoes? You know they can weigh up to like 2 kilos if you step on the weighing scale with them. But that's not what you want to do. Maybe you want to lose muscle. Muscle's heavy. That's not something people want to do. Most of us kind of want to gain a little bit more. I'm going to take a leap here and assume you want to lose some fat, right? So let's put that. I want to lose fat. Nice. But again, it's kind of just a statement. So we need more to work with here. How much fat are we talking? Is there an ideal weight that you are going for? Is there an ideal weight that you used to be? So for example, let's just say 15 kilos. Now that's a lot more specific, isn't it? I want to lose 15 kg of fat. Also notice how we have 15 kg now. We have a number, we have a value. We've attached something measurable, which is exactly what M stands for. Measurable. If you just wanted to lose fat, you wouldn't know when you succeeded. But if you want to lose 15 kilos of fat, now we know that when we do reach 15, we have achieved the goal. So now it's measurable. Other ways the same goal could have been rephrased is not just I want to lose weight, but I want to fit in my old jeans, which are maybe a size 32, and now you're a 40. So you want to lose 8 sizes. So you want to lose 8 sizes of clothes, for example. But again, that's measurable because you can track it. Once you've made something trackable, now we also know if your methods work. Next, we need to figure out what A stands for. And A stands for achievable. 15 kgs of fat for an 150 kilo person is kind of light work, but 15 kgs of fat for a 50 kilo person is 30% of their body weight. That's not quite achievable now, is it? Let's say you don't actually know whether this is achievable. What we can do to figure that out is to turn achievable into actionable. Here we break that down into the steps that we are most aware of. So something that most of us know is that for you to lose weight in the first place, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So, actionable, the first thing. Calorie deficit. The second thing we all know about, we need to stay active. Now back to the goal, we said fat. That means you don't really want to lose muscle. In order to prevent muscle breakdown during a diet, is to do some sort of physical activity that engages your muscles. So, lifting weights. We have 3 actions that all of us know about. Now you can keep breaking this down. For example, sleeping better is necessary for your metabolism, which is going to help you lose fat. Reducing stress is going to make the weight loss easier, because high levels of cortisol can cause weight retention. But here is where the first major problem can occur. If you keep breaking that down, it becomes extremely overwhelming. You realize there is 1,000 things to do, which means 1,000 more opportunities of failure. Again, the reason why we're setting goals is so we don't fail. So what we have to do now is look at all that we have. Again, everyone will have a different number here because this is just how much we know. But what we need to do is figure out what is the most relevant one, which brings us to relevant. This is where we first ask whether the whole goal is relevant at all. Many of us are people of side quests, kind of like me, and we want to do a bunch of shit. Most of it in the near future ends up being a bit of a time waste. Now, nothing is a waste of time, but we need to be extremely careful with where we spend our energy so we don't burn out. What that means is we need to step back and figure out what is the most important thing right now. Focus our energy there. Now, when it comes to weight loss, it is a pretty significant thing. And according to the NHS, about 64% of the UK population is overweight, and something like 30% is obese, which is ridiculous. And that was 2023 statistics. I'm assuming the number is just going up in 2026. So yes, spending our time, efforts, and energy into losing weight is relevant. So now that we know the main goal is relevant, let's look at the actionable steps that we need to take to achieve that goal. Of course, all of them are relevant, but remember we have one tank of energy that we need to go to work, that we need to spend on friends, that we need to spend on family. How the fuck are we now supposed to find the energy to do all of this? I get it, but that's why you take all your actionable steps and you order them. Kind of by accident, we already did it right. So now what we do is we make the most important one the most relevant one. So when shit hits the fan and you can't be asked to do anything, the only thing you need to do is be in a calorie deficit. That's it. We're all gonna have the absolute terrible days, but we don't really want to wake up. You know, that might be on your off day from work. You just want to rest. You don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to lift weights. You can't be bothered for any of that. The only thing you have to do is be in a calorie deficit. And you can do that. Everyone can do that. Even if that day your calorie deficit is literally like 50 calories, it doesn't matter. You didn't go up. And let's just say you did. Again, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you've done a calorie deficit for 5 weeks in a row and then you skip one, I'm pretty sure you're fine. It doesn't like ruin the whole work. But for the sake of argument, that's the only thing you focus your mind on. And finally, the last thing we need to think about, which kind of links back to achievable, is T, which stands for time bound. How much time are you giving yourself for this 15 kilo? Figure it out. What's possible? When do you want it? How bad do you want it? But remember, it needs to be achievable. I want to lose this in 15 days. Yeah, that's not happening, buddy. That's a kilo a day. But then if you want to lose the weight in 2 years, the level of difficulty is too low. And I get most of us want things to be easy. But then when something is too easy, you just fall out of it because it gets boring. So you kind of need to find the sweet spot where your level of engagement meets the difficulty and produces the best results. For example, if something is way too difficult, you're going to find it extremely hard to stick to it. If you can stick to it, it's not going to be for long. And weight loss doesn't happen overnight. You have to stick to it for a few months. But then if something is way too easy and the results are so much slower, at some time you're going to think, what even is the point? Because yes, you can lose weight by reducing your calories by like 50 a day. But by the time you lose 1 kilo of fat, it'll be like, Alexa, what's 9,000 divided by 50?
9,000 divided by 50 is 180.
You're going to take 180 days, roughly. That's just stupid. So you're going to give up. Not because it's hard and you don't care, but because it's too boring and you're kind of going to forget about it. But let's think what happens if we increase the difficulty, we get more results. Something like this is going to happen, no? Something like that. Now this is obviously going to be different for different people. Some of us like difficult things, kind of like myself. So I'll probably be somewhere around there. However, many of us don't like difficult things. So they're going to be somewhere around here. It all makes sense. If you've never done weight loss and you don't know whereabouts you're going to be, the best way to determine how much fat you should be losing is somewhere about 0.6 to 1% of body weight a week. So let's say you weigh 100. It's going to be somewhere around 600 grams to 1 kilo. That's a bit ugly, but you get the point, a week. So finally, let's make the goal time bound. But remember, the less you weigh, this percentage is going to go down. Because the day you weigh 99, 1 kilo is above 1%. But let's not overcomplicate things. Back to the example, 15 kgs. Let's say this person is 100 kilograms. In roughly about 15 weeks, they're going to lose 15 kgs. But that's if every single day is perfect. They do all these things without a fail. That doesn't happen. We're humans. We can't be aiming for perfection all the time. And remember, this is going to go down. So in this case, what we do is we're just going to add a few weeks. Let's say 20. So now the goal is, you want to lose 15 kilograms of fat, right? In 20 weeks. Ta-da! We have a goal, a much better goal. And because we did this whole process, we kind of know what we need to do. We need to do all those things, with number one being the most imperative, meaning that on your lowest day, at least try and stick to that one. Oh, but wait a minute. I know many of you have done this and unfortunately have still not achieved their goals. So now, I just want to give you some other tips on how we can work through these, the actionable steps, and make them even more achievable. Guess I'll write it here because I don't want to rub it all out. As number one is the most important, we're going to make sure that we've planned the most for that specific tiny little goal. So basically we're going to set goals for the goals to achieve the goal. I guess that sounds right. So what is the main thing about a calorie deficit? Eat less. Eating less. Again, go back to the example. On your worst day, all you have to do is eat less. Put it that way. Don't think about anything else. Some of us have tracked food before. If you know how to track, then you can do that. So for example, begin with 200 calories less. But most of us have never tracked in their life. And to be completely honest, tracking your food is so annoying and it takes ages for you to get used to it. So I don't even recommend tracking. Boy, you can do not to track is just to reduce your portions. For example, begin with cutting one portion a day in half. Recommend cutting in half the portion of the highest calories. If you do love chips, just cut them in half, right? If you have a shit ton of rice, just cut it in half. Begin with that. The second thing that somebody who doesn't want to track can do is just cut out one snack. If you like snacking on stuff, just cut out one of them. Lose weight. When it stops, cut out another one. Wait, do you see the mistake we just did? We're setting a goal for the goal for the goal. We didn't make it smart, bro. Make this goal smart. Specific. How much? 200 calories. Example. Or one snack, or the other ones. Measurable. Well, the number is measurable. Achievable. Of course it's achievable. It's just one snack, it's just 200 calories. It's a small amount. Relevant, yes. Eating less is the most relevant way to be in a calorie deficit. Immediate. So now we've made the goal for the goal for the goal smart. Back to what we're talking about. When you take these small steps, they're going to have an effect. When the effect slows down, then you do another one. And that has an effect. Now you just have to do the exact same thing with staying active. How is this going to happen? If you've never been to the gym, go to the gym once this week. If you have been fit, then just keep going to the gym the same amount of time. After you go once a week for a few weeks, go twice a week. Go 3 times a week. Don't jump the gun. Don't eat everything at once, because what's going to happen is going to be way too difficult and you are just going to fail because you're not going to want to carry on doing something so difficult for such a lengthy amount of time. You have to do it step by step. Lifting weights. If you've never lifted weights, once a week. If you do lift weights, keep the same number. Just make sure you're doing the work. Sleep better. How are we going to sleep better? Again, this is a very difficult one because it's not smart. If you make sleeping better a smart goal, that means it's specific. I want to get 8 hours of sleep. That means it's measurable because you're getting 8 hours of sleep. That means it's achievable because now you're going to know when to go to sleep and when you're going to wake up. Of course it's relevant, better recovery, less stress. And finally, time-bound, just start from today until you get it done. In 1 week, 7 sleeps. You want to sleep perfectly. As long as you make every single tiny goal smart, you know what to do. And as long as you don't tackle everything at once, you're going to keep your level of difficulty and engagement in the sweet spot. And with time, you're going to figure out that sweet spot by yourself. At the end of every week, sit down, write a few notes, reflect what went well this week, what didn't go so well, what I want to improve on next week, what I need to keep at the same level next week. That's going to teach you about yourself. That's going to teach you your level of difficulty. What's easy, what's enjoyable, what's difficult, what needs more effort. When something is difficult, you can allocate a little bit more effort. It's going to come out from the things that are just easy. You don't have to do. I love going to the gym. Do you think lifting weights and staying active is difficult for me? No, but I like food and I don't want to cut my food. So I'm going to have to spend a lot more mental energy in not eating, which is sometimes difficult, but that's most of us. For some of you, not eating is not too hard, but you just don't like exercising, or you think you don't have the time. We all know that's the excuse of not having the time. Now I haven't spoken about scheduling here. We can do a separate video on the scheduling, but just a few quick tips about scheduling and fitting things in. Number one is meal prep, of course, and actually, that goes right there. Because meal prepping saves time, you know what you're eating, you know the calories, everything is there. You don't have to guess, you don't have to buy food. You're not actually wasting money, you're saving money. All the money that you spend on eating out stacks up, remember that. So that's the number one thing that's going to save you time. That time you save, you're going to go to the gym, for example. Just saying. You know where else you spend a lot of time? On your phone, scrolling around. Why don't we cut that in half and spend that other half for the gym? Check out your screen time. It's probably a lot of hours. Cut it down. Go to the gym. You see how it's not terribly difficult and you do have time? You work early till late. You work 9 to 5 in London. That's basically 8 to 6 on a good day if TFL works. But what you can do is carry your shit with you. Go to the gym straight after. If you can wake up early and you're an early riser, go to the gym before. You know, all these things can be done. When you have a plan in place, you can be in and out of the gym in 45 minutes. Most days, I take about 45 minutes. Make sure your gym is in an extremely comfortable place. It's either right next to your house or it's on the way to work. It matters so much. Another way you can burn just a few more calories during the day is just by being active. So for example, take the stairs in the underground, or take the stairs to work, or use your car less. All these things are going to stack up. With some time, you're going to know exactly where your difficulty level is, exactly what your level of engagement is, and you're going to achieve every single goal that you've wanted to achieve. Hope this helps. First YouTube video. If any of you actually stuck to the end, listen to all my waffling, give it a like, a comment if you have, subscribe if you wanna, and I hope I helped you. Now, boys and girls, set your goals and actually make 2026 count. See ya. Alexa, what's the number of overweight people in the UK?
From metro.co.uk. In the UK alone, 16.8 million people are obese, 8 million women, 7.4 million men, 760,000 boys and 590,000 girls.
Alexa, what's that in percentage?
Sorry, I didn't get that. 9% of what?
What percentage of the UK population is overweight?
From statista.com. According to a survey carried out in England in June 2021, 9% of English people surveyed describe themselves as obese, while according to the official NHS...
In roughly about 15 weeks, they're going to lose kgs. In roughly about 15... I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. That's not quite achievable now, is it?